This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody. It is now 7 o'clock on Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. And I call this regular meeting of council to order here at the Social Scene in Victoria Beach. I respectfully acknowledge that we are meeting on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Anisinan Nations, Dakota, and Assiniboine and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous and Métis communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. As always, a thank you to Frank for the social scene setup and takedown and coffee and water. And thank you to the residents who are here tonight and council. I will move around to introductions around the table. I'll start at my far left.
Ian Chatsey. Steve Exley. Lon Turner.
Penny McMorris, Mayor.
Kerwin Kupka, Councillor.
And I'm Graham Randall.
Thank you, gentlemen. And it's come to my attention that some of us don't speak very clearly into the microphone.
Sorry.
You are not one of them.
Everybody says I'm
You
up.
are in there. So just a reminder to make sure.
Who's the guilty party? Me?
Perhaps
Oh.
one of you. Yeah. Let's just try and remember to keep the microphone close to make it easier for residents to hear. So thank you. All right, so adoption of the agenda, be it resolved the agenda be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? I see Ian's hand up, second. Graham, thank you. Any additions, gentlemen? I would like to add the Safi Road safety concerns for discussion under 7C under new business.
Just one, which would be feeding wildlife.
Feeding wildlife for discussion
Very short.
or not feeding wildlife?
Yeah, not feeding.
Do you want that under correspondence, Steve? Would that be all right?
Sure.
8D. We do have a bylaw.
And just an update on the Upper Beach Wash.
Awesome. And I'll put that under correspondence or new business or
Correspondence is fine.
correspondence is fine.
8E.
All right. Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to minutes. Be it resolved the minutes of the July 16th, 2024 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? Erwin, thank you. Ian, second. Thank you. Any comments on the minutes?
No, they look good to me. Well done.
Okay. Hearing nothing further, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, I'll move on to the committee reports. All right, up first is Victoria Beach Public Works to July 16th. Door-to-door garbage pickup is 3 days a week until September 3rd. Garbage must be left on the edge of the road allowance, not in your yard, please. Guys are, well, yes, it's all guys this year, do not have time to go into yards and search for your bags and boxes, so please leave your garbage out in a bear-resistant bin at the edge of your property if possible. Large garbage bags that are left out for days do attract bears, crows, dogs, etc. Public Works continues to pick up random late brush piles and bag leaves. It is never ending. I know you may see brush piles still existing out there. Please don't add to them until September or October. That's the next point. Please do not add more brush to any brush pile. Remember, the deadline for putting up brush is now long past. The next date for fall pickup is October 15th to 31st. It becomes your responsibility to have it removed at all other times. The grass and flower beds are attended to on an ongoing basis. Dead and dangerous trees are looked at and removed when possible. Public Works has a very long list of dead, diseased, and dangerous trees. Please mark the trees you are concerned about. An arborist will continue with as much dangerous tree removal as the budget will allow. E-service requests are completed as quickly as possible. Water samples for BB, Albert Beach, and Fire Hall are taken regularly throughout the summer and submitted to the lab in Winnipeg for mandatory testing. Grading of our roads is ongoing. The rain has not been helpful. Water leaks are repaired as they are reported. Civic signs can be ordered through Public Works at a cost of $60 payable for the RM of Victoria Beach for installation in the fall. And there is a deadline to order by September 8th, 2024, please. Public Works emergency or after hours number is 204-756-2568. Any comments, gentlemen? Steve?
Well, I have one quick question, which I legitimately don't know the answer to, which is what should people do if a tree comes down on municipal property? Because you can call Public Works,
Mhm.
but it's also, I would imagine more helpful if the resident, if they're able, cleans up the tree themselves, but then what do you do with that brush?
Then you can pile it up on the side of the road. Contact Public Works and tell them that's happened. And I'll try and get into it. Good question, thank you. All right, I will move on to finance. Councillor Chadsey, please.
I'm just going to review the operating budget. Revenue year-to-date is about 3.3 million. The budget's 3.5, so we're short 200,000, which I'm sure will come in over the next few months. On the expense side, I just went down to the different departments and just to see where they are. We're halfway through the year, so 6 months have gone by. So the variance, if it's at 50%, they're kind of in line. That's where you want it to be. If they're lower than that, that means they've spent more. So they've got to think about cutting back for the second half of the year. So admin, we're 50%, police 54%, so close, but got to keep an eye on that over the next month or two. CSOs, and that's where they probably have an advantage, they're 71%, so lots of room there. So if you combine the two, police is doing very well. Fire department's a bit different because they do pick up some revenue from Alexandra, so they're running at 34%. So they've got about $74,000 left in their budget. Then again, they might get some money coming in from the RM of Alexander, so I'm sure that'll come in line. Building and planning is 53%, Public Works is at 55%. So you might want to keep an eye on those salaries over at Public Works. They're 10% higher than what they should be for this time of year. Golf's at 49%, pretty much in line. Total expenses year-to-date, 1.84 million, which is around 47%, which again is in line, leaving us with a net surplus of 1.4 million.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
No, very good, thank you very much. Move on to fire. Steve, we have a May or June fire, June, I guess, fire report.
I'm trying to find it, I can't seem to locate it here. Can you just leave it there?
Do you want me to move on?
Yeah.
Well. Oh, hang on, there you go.
There were a total of 11 calls in June. Eight of the calls were in the RM of Victoria Beach. 4 of the calls were false alarms. One call was for a chimney fire that resulted in no injuries or damage to the structure. 2 calls were to assist Pine Falls Ambulance with a landing zone for STARS and to help with a patient. The last call was for a hydro line that was shut down. There were 3 calls in the RM of Alexander. 2 were related to hydro lines and trees, and the 3rd call was to an MVA. The fire department continues to maintain and repair their equipment to be ready for any calls, but they are not doing regular training at this time of the year. They have some new members that are working to get signed off on their use of equipment and gear so they can be put into service with the fire department. The fire department continues to inspect fire pits, now with the help of the BB Police. So far, this is working well, and they hope it will continue.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? Move on to police. Councillor Kempa, please.
We have had our first break-in this year. Interesting, occurrence on Third Avenue. A screen window was destroyed, the window was opened, nothing was taken, no suspects, kind of a strange situation.
Is it a bear?
That's what I'm thinking.
Or a raccoon?
Indications are it was a large window, so one would think if it was a bear, they probably would have got in. So hard to say, but nevertheless, again, this is the first incident where there's been what appears to be a break-in or attempted break-in to a residential property. There were 8 tickets handed out under the Highway Traffic Act. There was one incident involving an impaired driver. Apparently, someone from the Birchwood Hotel notified the police that someone was leaving in an impaired condition. Unfortunately, they were not able to apprehend them. There were 12 tickets handed out as a result of speeding detected under the laser system. So the days of the warning is over. If you're going to be speeding and go through a laser trap, you're going to be notified. It was really quite humorous. On Saffy Road, just near the junction of Saffy and Pitt Road, someone obviously got a ticket and they made their own plywood sign and it says speed trap, and they put it up against a sign on the side of the road. So that tells me that our speed maintenance systems are working, and that's very good. Pleased to report that Audie Rexsider is back to work as of today. He had sustained an injury, and but I have to compliment our chief constable. When Audie went down with the injury, Chief Constable Pauls was able to arrange some backup help from a couple of retired policemen, and there was no interruption in service. One of the problems when someone does go down on a short-term injury or sickness, that puts a dent into our budget, because we have, essentially you're paying twice for once for the injured person and once for the replacement. So it's everything seems to be motoring along nicely. No other comments?
Thanks, Erwin. Any comments, gentlemen?
Do you have anything further to say about Audie? Does the fact that he's back means that his resignation is rescinded?
For everyone's benefit, Audie Rexsider has tendered his resignation, which will not be effective till the end of September.
Okay, so there's no change
We're
there.
not stuck in the short term.
Well, we're glad to have him for the rest of his stay, so thank you.
And Chief Constable Pauls is actively working on seeking out possible replacements. So it was good that, Audie gave us lots of notice to work on that. And there are a number of very credible candidates out there that are interested.
Good, good. Thank you. All right, I do not have a special events report, so I will move on to golf course, Steve, please.
Our operator has passed their final exam and their essay for the pesticide application license, and is now waiting to receive their official paperwork and license number. The greens are in great shape. The tee boxes are getting fairly chewed up, but everything is very green and growing well. The only issue has been some issues with some of the carts. There are some weeds in the fairway, which will be sprayed immediately when our operator receives their license. The fuel right now is a little bit over budget, which is more of a timing issue as to when the hauling tanks need to get filled, so that'll be adjusted, but we are in a profitable position right now. So, yeah, not that big of a deal.
Thank you. I was up there today, and some of the regulars were saying how great the course was, how good shape it was in, so that's good.
Lots of rain.
Yeah. All right, I'll move on to municipal buildings. Councilor Randall, please.
Okay, rather a brief report this time around. It is what it is. Out at the golf course, the tenders out to paint all of the benches. There's 30 of them, and I believe the contractor we've selected is starting that this week. He'll be working on them throughout the month, and perhaps even into was to provide to a amount of disruption to the players. He may very well submit 2 or 3 progress invoices as he works his way through, and also those up with Lauren. On to the village greenwashing. There's been another unfortunate delay with the back order of the specialized plumbing parts, as reported by our plumbing contractor, Curtis. The parts promised for July 9th will now arrive sometime this week. I've been in touch with him today, yesterday. He's following up promptly on this. As soon as he can get his hands on them, they'll go in, and then our electrician is poised to strike to come in to finish everything off. I like to say the delays have been unavoidable. It's a supply chain, and the fact that what was specified were rather exotic, non-standard materials. But what's done is done. We all regret that this is taking too long. It should have been up and running for July 1st. Everybody's pushing to get it finished off. It's going to be a damn fine facility that I think all people, whether they suffer from mobility issues or not, will benefit from. And last but not least, good old Bayview number 4. Our contractor is moving some gravel around to fill in the gap that was starting to open up onto the landing, and we have Deck Dynasty, as soon as he can fit it into his schedule, will build the 2 benches that he owes us. So that's coming along and proceeding as promptly as possible. And that's all I had for municipal buildings this time around. Thank you.
Any comments, gentlemen? All right, thank you, Graham. Steve, you're up next, please, with Doctor's Cottage and Committee.
So everything's going very well right now with the doctors. There's been a couple of cleaning issues, but those have been resolved. The lockbox was causing problems in that there was a tag that was stuck in it, so you couldn't actually open the lockbox. So we were trying to figure out what was going on. We were considering ripping it out, and then the doctor himself actually went over and grabbed a hammer and just pried it open, and we figured out why it was jammed. So that's done. We also found out that we have $9,500 in an account right now for us, but it's saved specifically for medical supplies. So we do have a small list of things that are more replacements or would be nice. The biggest issue is, as I referenced previously, is that our ability to give medications has been limited. So it might be that we need to use it for a computer and some software, so that way we might be able to continue that. But right now it's going to stay there until we figure out what to do with it and how we can possibly get that ability back. Right now we do have sort of general over-the-counter medications as well as some emergency medications, but unfortunately most residents are going to have to go over and purchase their medications from a pharmacy at this time. Aside from that, everything's going decently well at the doctor's office.
There was 1 week or something that you had, did that get filled, or is there still 1 week open, I thought, in the summer?
I didn't check before I came. I know that somebody was interested. I can't remember if it's been taken up or not. But as far as I know right now, it's still vacant.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a quick item, Steve, as far as a computer for the doctor's cottage, yeah, it makes sense. Are they going to be able to obtain an internet connection perhaps through MTS, or can arrangements be made for that? Don't you have to have
We do have
a
internet.
computer and internet both
We do have internet
at the doctor's cottage?
there. It's seasonal, yeah.
Okay, the seasonal shutdown. Okay,
The biggest thing right now with getting the computer is that we don't even know if we will be able to do it at all, like whether or not this sort of other avenue that we're pursuing right now is even an actual viable option. Yes, there is internet right now, but we'll see if this is something that we can do or not.
For prescriptions.
For prescriptions, yes, exactly.
Okay, and as far as the doctors being able to write their own prescriptions, I think it was mentioned last time that there's 2 or 3 of the drugstores in the Pine Falls area delivered for free out here, 2 or 3 times a week.
Mhm.
Okay, next thing.
How does the pharmacy in Pine Falls get the prescription?
Is that one of the issues, Steve? Or like doctors can phone them in, or the resident can drive to Pine Falls, I guess, which
So-
negates the delivery.
There's several issues. The biggest one is that you need to be able to register the medications with person's online records, so that way, if you go to one doctor or another, they can take a look down. Just coming back from a training, my training history, there are a lot of people who will go to one doctor and then the next and then the next and then the next to get over-the-counter steroids, and they just keep building and building and building, so it's a safety issue. And they can do that with other medications. So the province has really sort of cracked down and said that, no, you need to have, have everything registered. And so that's kind of the first thing. The second thing is that we need a proper lockup. So that way everything has to be safe from any break-ins. And so there's a couple of things that we'll have to do should we want to continue, but we're not even sure at this time whether or not we're able to do it.
Thank
All
you.
right, Steve, we can talk later. We might have a spare, brand new lockable wall mounted steel cabinet, if that would benefit you.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay.
There's specific requirements.
Oh, I see. All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to communications. I would just reiterate, please go to our website for updates, follow our official RMVB Facebook page, read the council news article in the Herald, information and updates, and sign up for Connect. Beat you to it, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just, again, wanting to ask that we do a full survey of the municipality, so that way we can figure out how many people are here. And I mean, this came up in our emergencies operation, that we need to know how many people are here for the summer, how many people are here throughout the year, and how many people are vulnerable, how many people are permanent residents, and get proper numbers. There's also a lot of other things that we can be asking so that we can understand as to what the needs of the communities are. So I really just want to put that out there again, that I really think, and I know that Graham has agreed with me, that we need to do a proper full survey of the municipality.
Yes, we kind of got bogged down last year with the word census, which involves all kinds of other weird things. I think we settled on a questionnaire that we might want to send out to all residents to start to get some of the information that we would appreciate feedback on. And I think we should revisit that idea. Might be a good idea whose time is coming again.
Okay, thank you. I will move on to the summer information office. The information office gets calls from residents frequently about vehicles speeding or vehicles being without permits. There's not much the ladies in the information office can do about tracking people. They know who some of the people are, but not all. So if you see someone in the community who is speeding in the vehicle restricted area or does not seem to have a permit, please contact the police and give them as much description as you can. Our ladies in the information office can't literally track down or run out and follow someone, but one of them did.
Well, our police have done, if you can get them a legitimate plate number, they've done a very good job tracking that person down and going to see them for a little chat, which can be quite effective.
Yes. And just a reminder that contractors and others with vehicle passes are reminded that all vehicles must be parked in the parking lot by 7 p.m. or out of the vehicle restricted area by 7, unless, of course, it's an emergency or you have a special permit. Any questions, comments? All right, thank you. I'll move on to building inspector Graham, please.
Okay, thanks to our Inspector Curtis Bodman. His report for the month of June. 4 decks, 1 repair, 1 privacy screen, 3 additions, 1 bunk, 1 development, 1 rental, 1 CCAM. Well, that's not in here. I'll follow it up. One foundation only, I think I know who that was. The value of the permits, $309,000. Permit fees, $5,000. The year-to-date numbers, value of permits, $2,358,000. Whoop-de-doo. And the number that really counts, the year-to-date permit fees collected, $30,696. So keep up the good work. Curtis, we have a few issues, a few contentious issues, but I have every confidence that we'll be able to sort them out with Curtis's guidance.
Great, thank you. Any comments, gentlemen? All right, we'll move on to accessibility. Our accessibility committee met on July 7th here at the social scene to review progress to date and projects to be worked on going forward. Some delays with components that Graham has mentioned for the Village Green washroom will be dealt with soon, I hope. The yellow lines on the stairs many of them do need to be refreshed, and that is on the Public Works to-do list.
Good.
Benches are on the project list for the winter of 2024, 2025. They're a good winter project for Public Works, and we need to put them in various locations to ensure that residents can go a little further distance and have a rest in the meantime along the way. Grants have been submitted to add a lift to the Winnipeg office and to purchase more mobility mats for Albert Beach. And for the next accessible beach project which will be at Pier Point. And the mobility mats are in place at Albert Beach at the Pit Road access. And Erwin, I think, went and pounded a couple stakes in on the weekend, but otherwise they're working well. Great.
It seems that on the leading edge of the Moby mats, there's an aluminum strip, and the pins that anchor that in place seem to be, for some reason, working up. The rest of the mats are firm in place, so I'll continue to walk down there with my hammer and pound them in.
Thank you very much. Have you noticed people using them?
I haven't seen anyone with a visible accessibility issue to date, but, I don't spend my entire day on the beach, so I really can't say. That's not a fair observation. So,
It's also great for people with strollers or wagons or anything like that. They need to get a bunch of stuff to the beach.
I have seen people with wagons and strollers, and it is much easier to get down there. And the only observation I had is that, one of the observations I did have is that if it rains, the mat gets really slippery. So that's a bit of an issue. So I almost fell down when I was walking along after it rained. And early morning, it's quite slippery.
With the dew?
Yeah.
All right, that's something to pay attention to, thank you. Steve?
There are some spray-on adhesives that we can use that sort of put a grit on the top. Obviously, like, if we were to do something like that, we'd have to check whether or not that's going to damage them.
Yeah.
But there are solutions, like even the strips that you can put down on stairs for, they're kind of like sandpaper.
Yeah.
That might be something that we might want to take a look at.
We do have lots of sand.
We do have lots of sand, yeah. So I'm surprised that they're slippery with so much sand around, but I guess.
Well, it's the edge that, the mat starts on the land side of the berm. It goes up, so there's not a lot of loose sand in that area. It's only when you get over top of the berm that the sand tends to pile up, so.
Maybe we'll have to sprinkle sand on it.
I think Steve has an interesting idea, a bit of an adhesive and a bit of sand sprinkled on, and you can solve the problem, but, let's see how it works out.
Great, thank you. All right, trails, Steve.
ABB trail is complete. The sand, somewhere.
No, there's a little more. We'll do after.
Okay.
High season.
They were celebrating it in an email that I got, but, okay.
Celebrate twice. Then.
Yeah, okay, great. It's going to be complete. But I can't remember what it was, the sand that comes over the perms, is that the right word? But anyway, they were the clearing off the sand, the trails group had mentioned that they were very happy with it. It's been a really large improvement. I don't go up and down the ABB trail at all, so I rely on others to just let me know how that's going. The group is still going to be conducting a trails report at least twice a year. Again, I'd like to have a digital form online that we can use so that we can identify areas that need attention. So that way it doesn't just have to be the trails group, but it can also be just basically anybody that can go onto our website and identify on the map as to where the problem is. But for the volunteers in that in the VB Trails group, if we do want to continue working with them, then they would need to get some sort of chainsaw training so that anybody who's going out can be safe when they're out clearing some of the bush, because we've been relying on volunteers that don't have that training. So if something were to happen, then there might be some liability issues. Aside from that, again, just a reminder that it would be really great if we could get a winter map done in the next budget year. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Moonlight Inn, Councilor Randall.
Okay, the Friends of the Inn Committee report just in from our architect as of yesterday's date. Just to report that this seasonal food service trailer and log cabin are set up and fully functioning for this year's Moonlight Inn food service delivery. The health inspector was pleased with how the log cabin was renovated for the season and gave the seasonal temporary food permit for the operation. The landscape's been tidied up around the seasonal setup to make the area more presentable. It notes that other than pizza, the Moonlight Inn menu is the same as in recent years, so there's been no interruption in serviceability. Coffee and ice cream are being served from the log cabin, and all other menu items are served out of the food service trailer. And we've received a number of compliments on both of them. People generally seem to be satisfied with the way things are going. The area around the Moonlight Inn construction zone is safe with the secure perimeter fencing. All Right Contracting has a team in place to cover for Drew Allwright during the course of his family-related absence that we won't dwell on. Existing interior cladding on the Moonlight Inn has been removed, and all new window and door openings reframed and insulation added to the exterior of the existing building. The windows have been ordered, and once they arrive on site, they will be installed. And then the exterior siding can be installed, and the roofing on the new kitchen addition completed. It's my understanding that the so-called new siding that has to go on will be as close as a matching replica of the original as possible. Kitchen equipment and millwork is to be ordered shortly. We're talking about a Zoom meeting of the committee as a whole, perhaps sometime next week. And it's been suggested that maybe we should have a subsequent meeting out here at the site of the full committee to better demonstrate what we've got so far and how it's going. But to make a long story short, and thank you, of course, to our anonymous donor, it's going very well.
It is, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, anything further, gentlemen? All right, thank you. Be it resolved. Oops. Did I do the minutes? I did?
Yeah, we
Okay.
did the minutes.
All right. Be it resolved to approve the monthly committee reports as presented. May I have a mover? Ian, thank you. Graham, second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, move on to accounts and finances. Be it resolved, the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Checks 12421 to 12483 in the amount of $401,132.10. credit card charges in the amount of $3,912.76 for a total of $405,044.86. And Hoover. Steve, thank you. Ian, second. Thank you. We did do most of our grants on this AP, I noticed, so that's good. Ian, any comments?
Just a few. It is a little larger this time around, 62 different checks. Garbage truck, we added 21,000 for that. I think that was just, is that tax?
Yes.
Tax, yeah. And then the Moonlight Inn is 157,000, but that's really not out of our budget, that's out of their budget. So that didn't cost us anything. Payroll benefits, 37,000. We had to put a submergible pump in, that was 29,000.
Sorry.
And then the dust control, I guess for all the roads is $50,000. Do you know if that was kind of similar to what it was last year, or is it in line?
It's similar.
I think last year was 45,000.
Great, that's all I have for the accounts payable.
All right, any comments, gentlemen?
Oh, one more thing. I saw a note on the operating line. We're going to talk about that later, or does that need to be renewed? It's a $500,000 operating line that needs to be approved. And then there's 4 credit cards that limits up to $20,000.
Yeah, that's under new business. All right,
I take that back.
all right, thanks, Ian. Anything further, gentlemen, on this? All right, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, we will move on to business arising from the previous meetings. So another zoning bylaw update. We are still waiting for clarification from the planner and the province in regard to some shoreline and riparian questions, is my understanding. So we wait. Any comments?
I had a question. If it's the same as it was before, what are we waiting for? Like, that's my understanding. I don't know, are we changing what it was previous? Or has the province changed the rules around that, and that's what the issue is? I just know that from previous experience with different things that we've done, when we wait for the province to give us an answer, they don't like doing that, right? They don't like to make a decision and give us an answer. So we could wait 6 months.
I hope
And so
not.
my point is that we're putting this bylaw together. Why don't we just decide what we want it to be, and then that's what it is?
Just to comment on that, the group from the community raised some specific issues which the consultant had not dealt with before, and he wanted to get clarification from the province so that we would have a firm position on the issue. So it's unfortunate that we have to wait, but I think, the consultant was concerned that he needed to get clarification from the province before he could deal with the issue.
But I had those people who talked to me about it, and their point was they're changing what it was before. That's really all I'm trying to point out, is that the case? I don't really know. But they're saying that they're changing. If you look at the bylaw before and look at the new one, the rules are different, so that it's somebody on Pelican Point that wants to build a house, and now he has to go back further from where he thought he would have to be to build a house.
I think it's more than that, but
The rules aren't changing, they're the same. You're getting clear definition for that particular case on Pelican. Because a lot of our properties have a definite property line, and then there's a reserve, public reserve. And so the main point of contention is in our development plan and our bylaw of building within the riparian area. And it's a 30-meter setback. So they're getting clarity on that because some properties may not, like that one down there, may not fit that category. So that, because the water is elevated. I don't know, that's why the province is giving us some answer, because we don't know. They may not fall into that. Like right now, we think there's a 30-meter setback from the water's edge and that person's property, but because there's that extra reinforcement, because there's a public reserve in front of this property, that may not come into play down there. But our consultant wants clarity from the province that that's going to be true for those properties that are in that situation.
Right.
There could be more in that, but that's all I know.
But that's my point, though. Since we know what the issue is, can't we just decide? Because if we wait for the province to provide an answer, we'd be waiting 6 Well, that'd be good.
But we can't go against what the province says. It's a provincial ruling.
Yeah, would have to be done all over again if they rule against us.
So, there's a new zone that's been put in, since the last one. There are changes that, we made through our consultation process. All of those, need to be in line with the provincial regulations. Municipalities cannot supersede the province, under any circumstances unless the statutes allow for it, the same way that municipalities can't supersede the federal government's laws unless there's specific, terms inside of laws that say that it's okay. So no, we actually have to be very careful. And if we're not, and we just pass it, then we can be looking at lawsuits and then we're out a lot of money. So it's better to do this right and to not risk a lot of unnecessary legal fees. And yes, it is in fact different.
I share your frustration though, Ian. I mean, it's been going on so long, and at some point, the RM has to say, council has to say, enough.
We've been at this 2 years, and we were supposed to have this done last year.
Oh, I've been at it a little longer.
Well, I know, that's my point. It's just, we were, the year
I
before,
agree.
we thought, well, December, we'll get this thing done in September, and here we are a year later. And I just know from experience now that I've been at this for 2 years, if you wait for the province for an answer, you could call 3 different departments, get 3 different answers. So we've learned that.
Mhm.
So why don't we just sort of cut to the chase, that's all.
I think to proceed on without consultation with the province would be rather cavalier. I think we need to have a firm commitment, a firm opinion from the province. Otherwise, we could be breaching the municipal act, and as Steve has mentioned, that could get us into a bucket full of problems.
The only, from a medical point of view, I would really like to see clear definitions of this, whatever the province comes back. So future councils, future CAOs, future owners on shoreline, it's in the bylaw.
Mhm.
We know what can be built, where it can be built, and how it can be built, and it's there, rather than guessing, which is, I think, what got us into a little bit of trouble, really, from the start, because all these questions do arise, and we need to have better answers, and because it's a provincial regulation, we need to have their input to go into the bylaw, so we can understand it better. And I think we're challenging them, which is good, because I'm sure they don't get this challenge from other RMs, and they make all these laws. Know what you're doing before you do it. That's my political statement.
Maybe another solution might be hire a lawyer that specializes in this and get an opinion.
Oh, Lord, love a duck, we've got opinions.
We're probably gonna have to do that at some point if the issue goes to the municipal board, but let's not.
But how do you push this forward? I mean, you just wait? I mean, how long have we waited? This is what, a month, 2 months?
Couple more
Haven't
months,
gotten
won't
back
make
to us.
much difference, will it?
Well, my point is, when are we gonna draw the line and say, okay, December 1st, we're gonna decide to do something else? If we don't get an answer.
It's not within our authority to draw that line, and I suppose the only thing that we could do is, ask our consultant, is there anything you can do to speed these silly buggers up or what, you know?
Okay, I'm not gonna.
Can you pass a comment from the minutes, please?
Yeah, strike that.
All right, thanks, Ian. All right, fire hall and fire truck planning update. I know the fire truck specifications have been circulated to council, because we all know what specifications are required on a fire truck. I did have a conversation with our fire chief yesterday, and he's comfortable with the specs and with putting the RFP out very soon. And we need a place to store the new fire truck, which leads us to the fire hall planning, which leads us to a brief meeting that was held today, a bit of a planning session. Is there any updates you can provide?
Yeah, I think we got a consensus going, had a really lively conversation over the birch. And I think we hammered it out. I was asked to put everything down on paper, and I'll send an email out hopefully later this week. And then we can have a discussion on that, have a meeting on that, or use the email system to go around and sort of bash it out and finalize it.
Yeah, the bottom line might be the committee's recommendation to council, then we take it from there.
The struggle is we're having a difficult time trying to quantify what it will cost to rebuild, to build a structure based on the current wish list. So Ian's come up with some good ideas, and he's going to be putting them down in writing, and we'll be back to council with some recommendations fairly quickly.
Okay, thank you. Where am I? Okay, sorry, EV chargers. After our discussion last week, our last council meeting, we got a very thoughtful email from a resident who agreed with some of what we were talking about, disagreed with some of what we were talking about, and had a few suggestions. So I trust council has read it, and we can consider these comments going forward. Anything you want
It
to add?
was a very well thought out letter. You know, one of the things that we as councillors continue to receive is a lot of criticism, but this individual not only had some concerns, but he also provided some proposals for a concrete solution. So I compliment that person for their due diligence. And I think we've got I thought the ideas that were put forward were very reasonable.
Thank you.
And what we've done to date is consistent with what this particular person was outlining.
And for what it's worth, I'd like to add my thank you and appreciation to the resident who sent us this very well-reasoned approach.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Just a status update on the current chargers that are there. We're just waiting on new SIM cards from the software company to put them in. They were software-specific SIM cards, and the Bell Mobility SIM cards that they asked me to get don't work, so
Oh,
they're getting shipped up here this week and they'll be put in. So
Are the new chargers in place?
they're in, yeah,
They're in.
and they're working just like the old ones.
Okay, so you just can't pay per use at
That's
this point?
correct. Once the SIM cards get going.
Will the old machines be converted to pay-as-you-go?
No, there's no software.
Okay.
We have them though, they're being out into the parking lot, people use them somewhere else, or sell them.
Or we could maybe sell them. There might be residents who
Well,
want them.
There's no way to
Steve
convert,
thought-
no way to convert them to pay-as-you-go?
Just a thought, if you remember Shelley during the exercise that we did, had said that to get some people out, that if we all, that other arms have had some really good, great success with offering, small prizes. Those could actually be a couple of prizes that we could put up, as well as maybe a couple of other things to try to get more people out
Those are
to.
pretty large prizes.
Well,
To get residents to participate in volunteer emergency activities and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, reselling them, we're not really going to make that much money, because they're like the level two chargers are about $600 now. So we purchased them for quite a bit, but we're not going to get anything near what we paid for. So that might be a really good prize to be able to put up there, as well as maybe a couple of other things for gas vehicles.
Thank you. All right, the EOC leads us to the EOC exercise summary from July 11th. Shelley Napier, our emergency consultant, and her crew provided an excellent, I thought, mock disaster training session for council, our CAO, fire, police, CAO, CSOs, and residents. So Napier Emergency Consulting brought us total simulation room setting here. We had emergency operations setting area, we had a council area, we had a simulation area in the back. We got phone calls from pretend, maybe not so pretend, angry residents.
They're very good.
They were very good. And we had sort of a real-time simulation of a disaster in our community and how we could deal with it, how we could deal with it better. I thought it was tremendous, and I can't thank our residents and council and everyone for coming out. It was tremendous.
It was very realistic. It was well done. I couldn't help but notice when the last of the messages came through, the fire is out of control. It's jumped the gates. I looked around and said, do you realize sitting here, we're dead. We're dead. That's it. I'll leave you with that.
Thanks very much.
Again, I thought the exercise was very worthwhile, but I think what is coming out of it is council's got to do some work now to start to answer some of the questions that were posed around the table. You know, what is going to be our evacuation plan? How are we gonna develop a buddy system? How are we gonna develop a way to communicate effectively? Because, you know, even Shelley was very concerned that she didn't fully understand how many people we had, how many cars were parked in that parking lot. And we need to develop a very definite plan as to how people are to get out of there in the event of an emergency. It could be very bad if we don't do that. So we got some work to do.
And in that work to do, I'd like to suggest once again, Brad seemed to be willing to take the station back.
Yeah.
That might have to wait for the new firewall.
And our,
Or not. Well, we're mixed opinion on a siren.
I think
What do you do if you hear a siren?
you say, oh.
Head for the
there's a siren.
hills or call your lawyer or what? You know, what does it mean?
Call your
Yeah.
mother.
if you're on
Yeah.
the beach, it means get your cell phone and start listening.
Steve,
Just on the warning siren, I think so Shelley mentioned that other communities who have it, that it's usually not that effective. I think that we're a little bit different in what Erwin just sort of referenced, that, I mean, most people are hopefully not checking their cell phone on the beach. But when you hear some random siren, like it used to be that every Sunday, 12 o'clock, that's when it went off. If we don't use it, then people are going to take really quick notices to what in the hell is going on. And then, of course, everybody's going to be getting their text messages and their emails and their phone calls. So I think that for us, that'd be very effective. Also, in the event that it happens at like 3 or 4 in the morning and somehow we all have our phones off, that it could also be like a good wake-up call for us. So I think that it just adds this, for us, actually substantial amount of protection. And then the last thing is, I think it's especially clear, given the situation that we were put through, that because it was, okay, everybody evacuate, okay, now everybody head over here, go up this way, and oh my God, nobody can get off the island, now everybody go over to the pier. Again, I just want to bring up that we need to go to our Connect system. Shelley had mentioned as well that that system can do so much more than what we're using it for. And we need to revisit setting up presets so that Brad can activate them quickly. It's not reasonable for him to be in 2 places at once. And then at the same time, trying to be telling people what to do. And yes, it would take a while to set up, but I think that it was very clear as to how many people we could potentially lose in a catastrophic fire.
Shelley did mention that she was doing some templates, emergency templates for that kind of thing, for Connect and that kind of system. Okay, anything else? Thank you very much. All right, I will move on to the 2023 audited financial statements. Be it resolved to acknowledge the receipt and review of the draft audited financial statements for 2023 completed by the Exchange Group. Further, be it resolved to authorize Mayor McMorris to sign the TCWG representation letter and management recommendation letter. Further, be it resolved to authorize CAO Lon Turner to sign the client representation letter and the statement of responsibility. May I have a mover? Ian, thank you. Second, Erwin, thank you. Any discussion, gentlemen? These financial statements were circulated to all of council. Some very heavy reading.
32 pages.
I have a
They have
few
been
comments.
reviewed and approved, so it's just really a formality to, now that we have the actual audited statement in hand.
Right,
No, I just thought I'd just highlight some of the numbers.
sure.
For just comparison purposes, 2023 versus 2022 on the balance sheet. The cash was 2.3 million versus 1.5 in 2022. Liabilities were 458,000 in 2023 versus 374. So we had an account balance of 7.2 million versus 6.4 in 2022. Just as a comparison. On the revenue side and the expense side, 2023 was 4.3 million versus 3.8. Expenses were 3.6 versus 3.4, showing a surplus of $786,360 versus the 377. So you're right, there was a lot of paperwork there, but those are really the numbers that zero in.
Thank you.
The improvement in cash position was largely due to the very generous donation made by our anonymous donor. We did operate last year with a small surplus, but not to the extent of almost $1 million. Again, thank you to that very generous person.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Right. Moving on to 7B. Whereas CIBC requires an updated borrowing resolution to meet their security requirements, therefore be resolved to authorize for the year 2024 the ongoing operating line of credit of $500,000 and 4 corporate Visa cards with a total credit limit of $20,000 each. May I have a mover? Ian, thank you. Second? Erwin, thank you. This is basic housekeeping, I believe. Lon, do you have anything to add there?
I just had a question.
Sure.
So 4 credit cards for $20,000. Okay, so
Police? Public Works? You or the office?
I think that's it. There's another one, we have 2 in the office, police and public works.
So the
less
police will
fuel
use it.
and things
Yeah.
like that.
All right.
And the $500,000, is that the same as last year?
Yes.
Great.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's required by the province to have that line of credit in place?
I think so. I don't know if it's required by the province. I know you just had it since I've been here. If it's the first one, right?
In 5 years, we've never used it.
No.
Okay.
It's a requirement for CIBC that you have this resolution done every year. It expires at the end of the month.
Housekeeping.
Okay, thank you.
The requirement is that they have a general reserve, a certain amount of your operating expenses. That's the only requirement I know of.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion, gentlemen? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. I just wanted to talk a bit about Safi Road safety concerns. I met with some members of, 2 members of the the Alexander Property Association in the Albert Beach side, and one of our members in the Victoria Beach side of Albert Beach, and our police, and I think it was last January. And some of the issues that came up was there is an amazing amount of traffic on Safi Road, and I sent all this information out to council. So some of the suggestions included temporary speed bumps, permanent speed bumps, crosswalks, painted lines, flashing lights, more signage, more street lights.
There's one more.
And, yeah,
It's on the corner of Safi, and I don't know the name of that street, where there's a T in the road.
there's a few. Christopher, the first one?
Yeah, Safi's, and then the Safi's Road.
Mhm.
What's the one that meets it?
First one?
The first
Yeah.
one off highway is Christopher.
Christopher, okay. The other idea was Christopher has a stop sign, but Safi's Road doesn't. So if we put a stop sign on either end of Christopher's, then you have a 3-way stop.
Oh. That didn't
We
come
talked about that.
Did we? Okay,
Yeah, that's
sorry, I forgot that. Well, I just think it's something that council needs to consider because we do know that there's an awful lot of traffic on Safi Road. But I think speed bumps, I've spoken to both our Public Works and Alexander's, one of their Public Works guys. They prefer permanent speed bumps. Our police is in favor of temporary speed bumps. The residents don't want the flashing safety lights they don't think the safe walk crosswalk will be used, they don't think the buttons will be pushed, and they think it gives people a false sense of security when crossing the road. So I'm not sure where to go from here, but I think we should do something, but what that is, I don't know. So,
I was over there buying some supper tonight. I looked down the road from Highway 59. There's 3 signs that say 30 kilometers an hour with red flags on them. So you see that going in. I didn't see it from the other end. I don't know if there's 3 signs, but certainly 3 signs.
There's at least one.
I think that was the issue last time we had the meeting, that we were gonna put 1 or 2 more. But 3 signs going in with red flags on either side is certainly making it very clear what the speed limit is. I think that the speed bump issue also has to do with snow removal in the winter time. And then, of course, Public Works has to remove them.
Mhm.
And then the idea of a stop sign, making that T in the road at Christopher and Sandy's, you've got a 3-way stop. There's a stop sign, and it could be big, it doesn't have to be a small one.
Right.
And that might solve the problem, at least for the first step, and then second step might be speed bumps.
Well, the other option was the police applied to the NPI program, Manitoba Public Insurance had a program for those digital speed signs.
Right.
And they were handing them out, they were giving them out, and we applied for 2, but they were oversubscribed, so hopefully we can get on the next list, because there's nothing at Irwin's end, if you will, at Saffron
That's
Road,
right.
to say, look, you're going way
Or
too
maybe buy
fast.
one of those.
But,
That's something, yeah.
Didn't we put some money in the budget to pay for another radar sign?
Well, it was
I don't
half and
recall.
half between us and Alexandria.
No, I don't, we were applying for them through NPI, so I'm not sure we did this year, we have in the past.
You know, I think that the radar sign for traffic going east has helped reduce speed.
Yeah.
And plus our police are there more often handing out tickets, and that's
Mhm.
great. But I think we should seriously consider paying for the cost of the sign going, to monitor people coming
What's the cost?
off Kit Road and then going down west on Sap, because they come down there and they're
It's a nice
they're
long
whipping along
straight
pretty
road.
good.
They're about $3,500, or they were about $3,500 for a sign.
I looked into that last year for a friend, because they came up here and he saw them, and he wanted to get one for his cottage area, and found out who provides it, and it's closer to $5,000 now,
Oh,
but still $5,000, I think is worth it.
there's a couple providers, so maybe, yeah, okay. Well, go ahead, Steve. Did you have-
As long as I'm getting it to you.
Yeah, that's right. You had already taken a look at the company that we usually go with, and I think it was $3,500.
But that was a year ago.
So a year, I thought that we did it, the tax time,
At budget time?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and
Okay.
look.
But yeah, like I originally thought it was around $5,000, but yeah, I mean, that has been very effective. I think that the speed bumps, the permanent ones, would be really the best option, because it's really not just in the summer, and in the winter, they fly through there. The other thing, do you know if we're still collecting the data from that speed sign?
The residents on the south side of Albert Beach collect the data on that sign.
And
And they pay for that.
we don't,
They pay
oh,
for
because
that.
ours is on David Road. Yeah,
Ours
that's
can
right.
be moved, but it's not moved
Yeah,
very.
but we haven't set up on David Road. Well, because if we get access to that data, then we know, it gives the police a much better idea as to when they should be heading down there.
They gave us the data when we were meeting with the police,
Gotcha.
and yeah.
And then the last thing is that, yeah, like having a 3-way stop, really kind of 2 or 3 of them along that road would be great. But I still think that we do need to have a safe crossing at that spot. I've been kind of advocating for that for a while, especially between Lacotia and Sappy's, because that's where the vast majority of the traffic is. You know, if people choose not to use it, it's kind of the same as not choosing to use it in the city, but at least it's there. So if you have young children, then you have that option to be as safe as possible.
I would really be concerned that it would create a false sense of security for the pedestrians. Let's talk about stop signs. What does that actually mean? It means slow down. Doesn't mean stop, in terms of what actually happens. You know, I can attest to that stop sign at Pitt Road in Safford, nobody stops, they just cruise through.
But again, when you have a safe I mean, you know, that argument would say that, okay, well, if people are just slowing down, it creates a false sense of security, then why does every major city on earth have a safe crossing? It's because they work. And if you have flashing lights to indicate that, and if the police are there using that data, then, as to when the highest amount of traffic is going through it, then we're really putting a lot of pressure on, and on top of that, putting down the permanent, speed bumps. Like, if we want to tackle it, it's not gonna get better until we do something, but if we want to tackle it, we might as well just do what we need to do and just get it over with.
Well, looking at it objectively, it doesn't look right to me that from the highway, looking down Saffy Road all the way to Pit Road, there's not one damn stop sign in that whole thing. There's nothing there to break up the traffic, to make them stop and think. Stop sign is a stop sign, it means stop. Yes, our ability to hand out tickets is limited, but we do have that authority. We can,
Well, we don't.
we can certainly add that to the enforcement. I like the stop sign idea. I think we should try it to see if it works.
I think that if we want to tackle this, we need to think of doing it in stages.
I agree.
So rather than just do it all at once and spend a lot of money, we just talked about stop signs, crosswalk areas, speed bumps. Take a look at the cost, probably the speed bumps and probably the most expensive crosswalks, the next most or least expensive, and then stop sign would be less than that, and then the radar thing. So maybe we should just decide, start with one thing and then add and just see what works. But I agree with Steve, we need to get some data on this. But Erwin, I think that if you put up stop signs and there's a crowd of people crossing the street, I don't think people are gonna roll right through. I think that it makes you think. You gotta be pretty irresponsible to be blowing through a stop sign when you see a large crowd of people crossing the street at Southeast Store.
You should go down 8th Avenue on a busy summer day on your bike. Nobody stops at those stop signs. Parents with
Car or
kids,
bike?
grandchildren, both. Mostly people on bikes who think they don't apply.
Well, that's
I
bikes.
know.
Bikes.
Yeah. But okay, go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna say, it's a fairly heavy offense to blow through a speed, or a stop sign.
If you're caught.
Yeah, well, if you're caught, but, and, it's a substantial amount of demerits and a very high fine. The one thing I will say about the electronic radar signs is that, just like the one that's on David Road, they're portable. So that one used to be down on Saffy's, and then there was the joint purchase, and then that's where the one is now. But the reason why we moved the one over to David is because we got the one that's over on Saffy's with Alexander. So like if we got another one, that can be one that floats around too, because it's not just Saffy Road. Like there were a lot of areas in the municipality where people are complaining about speeding. So, especially in the winter, we can move that around to see where is it now, where is it right now. So it wouldn't just be for Saffy. So it's sort of a separate expense, but also can help with Saffy Road as
And it
well.
can be mobile, right?
Well, Saffy Road is the most glaring exception. It seems to require our attention. As far as stop signs, yes or no, where do we put them? Why don't we consult with our police chief? And it would be his responsibility to enforce it. And, they can have some real fun enforcing a stop sign that didn't used to be there. We're gonna have to put up a warning first. But I can tell you that after 2 or 3 tickets, word spreads like wildfire.
All right. So that we'll talk to the police about stop signs for starters. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to correspondence, information and announcements. Reminder to the public that the province has issued a notice for all Victoria beaches for the rest of the season. And you can go to our website, our Facebook page, or contact the province for updates. If you are going in the water, please try not to swallow the water. Don't let your pets swallow the water. Don't go in if you have a cut. Just be careful. What's the matter, Steve?
A lot, but it just frustrates me to no end that, several years ago, we put forward that resolution of the AMM. It got passed with, I think it was over 95%, it was easily over 90% approval. The province said that they were going to start fining Winnipeg every time they dump raw sewage into the lake. They've never done it. And I mean, aside from what happened this last year, which, you can argue is unforeseeable, even though that, you know, you can do your general maintenance. The fact that every time it rains, which is almost every day, they're dumping raw sewage into the lake, and the province is doing nothing to find them, nothing is, I mean, the lake is dying. But aside from that, if any municipality, aside from Winnipeg, were to dump raw sewage into the lake, holy God, the fines that would come down on our heads. So, I mean, that's sort of the first thing, and the second thing is just, like, I really invite all the residents to just lay it on thick onto the province to start doing something about this. We don't need more studies. We don't need more investment into research X, Y, Z. We know it works. We know that the primary driver is the fecal matter, which is thrown out onto farmers' fields for fertilization. We know that Saskatchewan and Alberta, out of all provinces, solved this problem years ago by establishing artificial wetlands all the way to their drainage system. They don't have these problems anymore. But I know at the end of the summer, we're going to hear the exact same thing. We're going to invest several $1 million into another study. It doesn't need to be done anymore. So please hound your provincial ministers.
Feel better?
No.
Okay.
I did have an opportunity to speak with Dennis Volko at an event I attended on Saturday. I raised the issue again. I said, what is AMM doing? And he said, it's an ongoing file, that they're in continuous discussions with the province. But at the end of the day, it's money. And the cost of solving the problem is huge. It's huge. So I took the opportunity to speak with him and say, you know, our lake is dying. First time in 52 years, my beach at Albert Beach has been closed. Never happened before. We've had, you know, advisories, but we've never had a closed beach. So hopefully, you know, I totally agree with you. We all have to talk to our MLAs, we have to talk to our MPs, we have to talk to our city councilors, because it's a joint problem.
All right. Thank you. Short-term rentals. A resident sent us a recent CBC article on short-term rentals. The town of Gimli has implemented a short-term rental bylaw, as has the Arm of Alexander, by the way. It is something that we've discussed. We do know we have Airbnb, we have the RVO, we have all sorts of various rentals in our community. We could do a separate bylaw. It does not have to be part of our zoning bylaw. It is part of the Alexander zoning bylaw, but it does not have to be part of the zoning bylaw. So I think it is something that we should maybe consider. You know, I have a few concerns. Number one, we don't have any business license in our community, and now we're gonna, you know, if we did implement something like this, it would mean a license for rentals. I think you'd have to ensure that other businesses in the community also maybe have business licenses, and we don't right now have the manpower, the administrative manpower to do that, but that doesn't mean it's not insurmountable. There's lots of things we could do.
And you may also have to differentiate between the professional renters who manage a number of properties and the individual taxpayer who rents his place out once in a while to defray his tax bill. And I think you'd have to treat them as two separate entities.
I think it's an excellent idea, but the main problem is how do we enforce it? That's going to be the limiting factor for us, because we just don't have the resources, the people power to regulate.
Well, let's ask Alexander how they enforce theirs.
They hired one person in particular to track down all their Airbnbs on a full-time basis. And they have Prairie Bylaw, and I guess they have a complaint system.
Well, they've gone through the zoning system.
Yes.
In order to operate a short-term rental in Alexander, you need to get a conditional use permit proving zoning, and if you fail to comply, then you can lose that permit and be unable to legally operate a short-term rental.
Go ahead, Steve.
So I mean, the reality is that they're already here. I've been saying basically since I got on council that we need to act on this. Erwin has been backing me up as of late. It's, I mean, when we're talking about business licenses, we've also been talking about that for about the last 6 years. It really is something that we need to strongly look at. Most major, very large municipalities do something to that effect. But I mean, the other thing is, as I brought up on numerous occasions, is that there are accommodation taxes which apply to hotels. They apply to full-on established bed and breakfast. But if you're an Airbnb, then, oh, no, you don't get to pay that. And quite honestly, that's just simply not fair. So, I mean, the city of Winnipeg has a 5% accommodation tax. They've since increased it to 6% as of 2024. So if you want a way to pay for it, that. And I've spoken to a family member that I have who runs an Airbnb. I've spoken to a couple of people who run an Airbnb, and nobody likes paying taxes, but they're prepared to do it because they understand that it helps to solve a lot of the problems that otherwise, people find egregious about Airbnbs. We still haven't heard back from the lady who came here, who sort of has all of our data. But we'd asked them to get back to us as to how many Airbnbs they know that are short-term rentals that are operating in the municipality. There are a number of them. You can go on to any of those websites and you can see them. And I've been constantly taking them off of Google, reporting them nonstop, saying that this is not a municipal thing. It's like, they're here, they're operating. They need to be paying their share of taxes. And because of the way that the short-term rental works, and this has been studied globally, that wherever they get established, taxes go up, housing prices go up, and meanwhile, everybody else who's just sitting there having the standard house has to pay the increased cost of having the short-term rentals here. So just one last thing over to your points is that, yes, I fully agree that, somebody who's just renting to family, and maybe, I wouldn't even say friends, I would say family, that those people should be exempt from any tax. And I mean, they're not going to be exchanging money anyway. But people who are running as an actual business, no, you need to pay your fair share of taxes.
The R of Gimli has an accommodation tax, but it requires provincial approval.
Yeah.
So they're working on that.
So why don't we wait until Gimli gets approval and then get a copy of what they have and see whether it might fit for us?
Okay, I've looked at some of their documentation. It's very lengthy. It's quite a process. And the process to bring in a bylaw would require 3 readings, and I believe it would be wise to have a public hearing on something like this. But it's something to think about going forward. Okay. All right. Albert Beach Water Utility. I just wanted to remind residents that we have put notification up, put some up here at the social scene, some across the street at the community center, and some at Safi's store. They're on our website. They were on our Facebook page. The Albert Beach Water Utility rate change application to the Public Utility Board. Questions or comments from customers of the Albert Beach Utility should go to the Public Utilities Board on or before August 17th. The website for PUB is on our website under this notice.
And Lon, can you comment on what the approximate percentage increases are? Is it's close to inflation?
I have it.
I looked at it, I just don't have it in front of me.
The current rate is $179.90.
It's becoming.
I don't like this.
I know you don't.
So it's outstanding. The last time that the rates were approved were 2020. So we're going on that rate. So if you take 3% every year up until now, it's about 3%. But what we applied for this year, it would go from 179 up to 218. And then up about 3% every year after that for 6 years.
So it's kind of a catch up for the fact that we haven't increased rates since 2020.
Correct. Yep. And the same thing with the
the Victoria Beach Water Utility will be able to same sort of situation, 3% catch-up kind of thing, but they're still reviewing that one. It's a larger.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, move on to wildlife feeding, Steve, and then the Albert Beach Washer.
Yeah, just very quick. There is, especially this year, plenty of food for all the wildlife to eat, so please stop feeding them. There are several foxes in the area. If you're wondering where Little Miss Kins has run off to and you've lost your cat, you're probably never going to see that cat again. Foxes kill cats. There's also coyotes that prance through here on occasion. We've had wolves in the area, not this year that I know of. Obviously, we've had bear issues. The deer, aside from loving everything that you plant, they have lots of things to eat. There's no shortage of food for these animals. And again, for all the cuteness, especially of the little foxes, they will kill your animals. So they are predators. They are not top predators, but they're right up there. So please stop feeding them all because they don't eat it.
All right, thank you. Erwin, Albert Beach washroom update, please.
I'm pleased to report that the Albert Beach privy is open and functioning. I personally inspected it, and one thing I would ask that we do is, can we put a sign on it that says public washroom?
There were signs ordered, there should be a sign.
Oh,
Yeah.
And secondly, we do need to make a small change to the entrance to the washroom because there's no eavesdrop on the building, and when the rain comes down, it has created a ridge. So if you were in a wheelchair, you'd have difficulty getting into it because the rain coming off the roof has eroded the gravel in front. So a little bit of fill would solve the problem.
Or an eavesdrop.
Well, and
And an eavesdrop. And secondly, someone stole a barricade that we normally put up in July and August to restrict the flow of traffic down to the Girl Guide camp. So I've passed that information along, and our CAO is going to find us another barricade.
All right, thank you. Steve?
Are you sure that hasn't just been tossed into the bush? Because that's usually what they do.
I have looked.
Okay,
Apparently, it happened sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. The garbage truck comes by my place at 8:30 in the morning, and they noticed it was gone. And my wife went over to talk to Public Works later in the day, and they said when they were driving around, they kept looking for it and couldn't find it. So if you see a small yellow, road closed barricade, let us know. We'll go pick it up.
yeah, lost and found. Irwin Hall has, for municipal buildings, I'll put my hand up for the eavesdrop. I'll make something up.
Thank you.
thank you. Anything further, gentlemen? All right. Be it resolved that July 16th, 2024 regular council meeting be adjourned, and the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 6th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in Victoria Beach, here at the social scene at 3 Atia Road. Now I have a mover. I'm trying to stifle the sneeze here, sorry. Steve, thank you. Second, Graham, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, residents, for coming out.